You know, I want to talk about stress for a moment, right? And cortisol levels. So if we're rushing someone to a hospital and we've got all these bright lights that are filled with electromagnetic frequencies that are chaotic frequencies, right? They're not friendly frequencies. How I mean, I just think about the baby coming into the world under stress and producing a ton of cortisol right from the get-go.
Yeah. That so the baby is under stress, and the baby does not feel comfortable. And what they're blindsiding the baby with is they're taking away the baby's perception of the world immediately through their five senses. And they've also destroyed the mother connecting with the baby through the five senses. And a lot of the times they're telling the father that the father's not even allowed in the room. So I'm going to jump in right now to what I call the optimal hour. And that's what you should do as soon as your baby is born. So we can come back to fertility and the conception process, but let's just jump into it to give you an idea of how hijacked the system really is.
Go for it.
Thank you. As soon as the baby's born, that first hour, which I call the optimal hour, sets the tone for the next 18 years of that baby's life. So if you just spend one quality hour with that baby, you will have significantly less stress and more enjoyable time with your baby throughout the next 18 years. And that's a very bold statement. And that's simply by doing things like not clamping the cord. So the umbilical cord, after the baby's born, still has 33% of the blood remaining in it. That's still supposed to move into the baby. That's where they're getting their oxygen. But the hospital's immediately going to clamp that cord. So they use, if you want to think of it as a clothespin, as soon as the baby comes out, they're going to put a clothespin clamp to stop that fluid from cutting, and they're going to cut that cord immediately.
Okay, you know what? You know I can't shut up anymore. I'm sorry. So the flow of oxygen, brain health,
Yeah.
autism. I mean, that's immediately what I'm thinking. Autism, ADD, ADHD, any brain health condition,
Yeah. So
depression,
there's
anxiety.
nutrients in there, there's cells in there, the oxygen is in there, the blood volume, all the minerals, the brain function, all of that is still in the cord after the baby is born. You have stem cells coming in there. That cord actually is what activates, the blood to rush, which thus inflates the lungs, which encourages the baby to take their first breath. And what we have is a world that completely clamps that blood, stopping all of those functions. And do you know why they clamp that blood?
Well, I thought I did, but go ahead. You see my face. I'm just, I've already told everybody who, I was inviting so many people to the show, and I said, I'm usually the disruptor. I said, but like, meet Tom.
Yeah.
Go for it.
They're clamping that blood because it's worth money. So a umbilical cord can be sold for at least $40,000. So if they can clamp that cord with that blood in there, cut that umbilical cord immediately, then they can sell that umbilical cord. And they're selling it to people for the stem cells. If you're like, oh, get a stem cell replacement therapy, a lot of times that stem cell is coming from an umbilical cord because they clamped it. They didn't allow that to go to the baby. They're now selling it for countless amounts of money. They make cosmetics out of it. They make supplements out of it. They're just straight up using it in products. PepsiCo at one point owned a company that purchased baby umbilical cords. So that's one of the main reasons that they're stopping that blood from going in. The other reason is because they do not want your baby to be healthy. They want your baby to be dependent, a lifetime dependency on the American modern medical system and throughout the country. So if they can prevent the needed nutrients going into the baby at birth, then they're creating a lifetime customer.
Yeah, a lot of what the Western medical community does is with the intent of creating lifetime customers, right? I mean, we'll get to the food supply in a bit, but they feed you stuff that causes disease and then, and then sells you the solution.
Yeah.
And so when you wake up to that, right? I mean, when you wake up to that, when you start looking at the revenue stream, um, just don't vomit now. I'm holding back. I'm just going to tell you. So
Yeah.
go ahead. So they're creating a lifetime customer, keep them dependent, right? Um,
And they're doing that by cutting off, the antibodies, the immunity, the hormones, the enzymes, the stem cells, all that blood, all that oxygen that's coming through that cord. So let me tell you what is the optimal way to do that. There's
okay.
many different ways, but the best way to do it is that you're not going to cut that cord, or you're going to leave the cord intact until at least the placenta has been naturally delivered. But there's such a thing as a lotus birth also that some people will promote, and these are kind of both of the extremes. And the lotus birth, the cord is attached until it naturally separates from the baby, and that can be at 3 to 10 days. For a lot of people, that may be too much, because a lot of women don't, they do what's normal. They don't want, grandma and grandpa come over and see the cord and, the placenta still attached. But you want to at least let that cord lay limp and it be clear and white and no longer pulsing. So anywhere 1, 2 hours, 6 hours, to when you naturally can see that all that fluid has moved out of the umbilical cord, then you can remove the umbilical cord. And a lot of the times, that's a fatherly duty. So anything that I promote, I want the father completely involved in the whole situation. So you can cut that. And then it's really good that you don't allow the hospital, wherever you're giving birth, to maintain your umbilical cord or your placenta, because they're both, streams of revenue for the birthing center, the hospital. So you want to retain that. And then one of the best things that you can do with it is you can, plant it in your yard and then plant a tree above it. And then you will have, as this tree grows, it'll be part of your family, and it's a place that you can come back and celebrate the birth and celebrate life and celebrate that moment and honor the baby as they go through life.